Malins, Ava, Elena, and moms Mona and Sarah. Like so many working parents, pickups and drop-offs are a stressor. But now that Elena is 10, there could be a new option.
We live close to school. We live a mile away.
The plan is for the girls to start walking. And while a cell phone seems like a smart tool for safety,
why not just give them your old smartphone?
I think that's one more battle, one more thing to deal with. Access to so much information that they don't need.
Enter the dumb phone.
The dumber the phone, the better for me.
The Wall Street Journal's David Pierce says these types of phones are making a comeback.
They used to be called flip phones, and then some people call them dumb phones. I kind of think of them as slightly smart phones.
The screens are small, no social media, but they make calls and you can text.
The beauty of these things not costing $1,000.
I don't imagine that a lot of these screens will get cracked either.
Luckily, no.
The battery charge can last a week. It may be the perfect tool for a 10-year-old wanting some independence.
What do you think?
Pretty awesome.
Her moms teach her how to dial and hang up.
This is so great. Kids learning how to use old technology. I love this.
But she learns quick.
Hi, Mommy. We're almost home.
The girls walked home the next day and sporadically for the next 2 weeks.
We're home.
So how'd it go? I actually couldn't believe it. It was super cool.
Elena and Ava seemed to like it too.
I felt like that we accomplished it, and I was so happy.
Happy kids, connected family, and just enough technology without opening the Pandora's box of kids and smartphones.
Remove its colored cap and insert it into your Juul.
In the face of massive government pressure, e-cigarette company Juul will no longer sell some of its product on store shelves.
Don't give up. You'll find your perfect puff.
Removing popular flavors that critics say appeal to children and teens. Mango, fruit, cream, and cucumber will now only be available online. The company has long maintained they launched the flavors to help adults switch from regular cigarettes and don't want kids to use their product. This coming as the government prepares to crack down on the industry, with many local officials already taking action. GMA Investigates was right there as New York City's Department of Consumer Affairs recently sent an underage teen to local stores who tried to buy e-cigarette products.
How old are you? How old are you? 13. It's gonna be 21 seconds.
While some stores followed the law, others didn't. An inspector who we can't identify handed out multiple violations.
Store is getting a violation for selling to a person under 21, all right? This is nicotine, it's a tobacco product, you can't sell it, okay?
Out of 11 stores that sold e-cigarettes, DCA says nearly half sold to the youth inspector. At one location, we even see an electronic backstop, which reminds the clerk to ask for ID, but he seemed to ignore it. And the inspector later confronted him.
The system asked for ID?
We asked too, but today I don't know, man, what I did.
Okay, all right.
Our Gio Benitez was there as officials in Suffolk County, New York, have also cracked down on sales to minors, with the focus on young people knowing the potential dangers.
There's this messaging that's been put out there that somehow these are completely safe, they're the alternative to cigarettes, so we don't have anything to worry about. But the fact of the matter is that we have kids that are utilizing these, and we're at risk at these kids and this generation becoming addicted to nicotine, and that's a serious health problem.
This morning, new images of the campfire just north of Sacramento, still burning.
I did not think we were going to make it down off that mountain. It was a miracle that we got out of there.
The deadliest fire in California history, covering the area hours away with smoke. More than 130 people are missing, at least 56 dead. Members of the National Guard combing more than 60 square miles looking for the missing.
There are potentially over 100 people that were killed in view. Potentially.
We're on Camp Creek Road. This is where authorities think the fire started. You can see this road closed sign blocking it off.
Melanie Heidelberger and her family panicked, trying for 36 hours to get from their home in Magalia to safety.
We were on the missing persons list when we got here. It was nice to write that we were found.
Thankful for her new temporary home.
We all got out.
In Southern California, those evacuated because of the Woolsey fire now able to return. Donations to help those who've lost their homes brought in by boat.
It's remarkable. Yeah. And seeing and knowing what you've been through. Can you walk us through what you got from Will and what you were able to keep?
Yeah. on the cop cart.
It's one of the most unusual questions I've ever posed, asking a young man for a guided tour of the features of his face. 26-year-old Cameron Underwood suffered devastating injuries to his face 2 years ago from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
How do you prepare yourself for that as a mom, to see that?
Hoping that you're dreaming and you wake up and it was all a nightmare.
But Cam may have a second chance thanks to a miracle surgery and another mother, Sally Fisher, who lost her son Will and is about to make the most selfless gift to a family she doesn't even know.
I mean, from my standpoint, of course we would give organs, but a face. You know, the idea, you know, a face is
so personal.
Yeah. And especially because Cameron suffered his injury at the age of 23, which was the age Willie was when he died. And I just thought, you know, he can get this difference.
And so last winter, two mothers coming together in love and hope to give one son another chance at life.
Welcome to New York. Thank God for you. I'm so happy. Where are you, Mom? Oh my God, thank you.
What did she say to you?
She's thanking us. Just so courageous, giving, you know, this gift to us and then thanking us. Thank you for letting my son live on. You have no idea what this means. Oh, you have no idea what this means to us. What this means to my son.
I don't think I would have survived Will's death had it not been for Cameron and his family.
10 months later, one life reborn and a mother seeing her lost son's face again.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad. And you. Oh, you. And you. Oh, Sally, oh my goodness. You're the courageous one. And giving my son a chance to be normal again. I mean, he looks so fantastic.
I know, you look beautiful.
It's just, I mean, I guess I'm a little biased. I think you're drop dead gorgeous. I think he is too. Thank you. I think he is too. I gave her
Overnight, the woman who Chris Watts was having an affair with when he murdered his wife and children is speaking out. Nicole Kessinger sitting down for an exclusive interview with the Denver Post, telling the paper he's a liar. He lied about everything. According to Kessinger, Watts wooing her into an idyllic romance after he introduced himself to her at work. Coming across as a good listener, soft-spoken man, and thoughtful father.
My daddy is a hero.
Kessinger noticing Watts did not wear a wedding ring, saying he told her he was wrapping up a mutual divorce with his wife as his and Kessinger's relationship progressed. But that persona unraveling after Watts' family disappeared.
If somebody has her, just please bring her back. I just want them back. I just want them to come back.
Suddenly, nothing making sense to Kessinger as Watts presented himself to the world as a happily married man begging for his family's return.
And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
Kessinger telling the Denver Post, "I found out he was still married and his wife was 15 weeks pregnant. Thinking if he was able to lie to me and hide something that big, what else was he lying about?" According to the Post, Kessinger, shocked at Watts' deception and scared for his wife and daughters, began interrogating Watts on the disappearance of his family, drilling in on the inconsistencies in his story and demanding answers. But instead of resolving her concerns, Watts' responses and lack of emotion only making her more suspicious. The next morning, with Watts' family still missing, Kessinger reportedly going to police. That night, Watts was arrested, later pleading guilty to murdering his wife and daughters and hiding their bodies on the property of the very oil company where he and Kessinger first met.
This boy, just 14, is too young to ride alone in an Uber or Lyft, according to company policy. But take a look as he gets into 3 different Ubers and 1 Lyft. The investigative team at WPBI conducted and monitored this experiment with the permission of the boy's parents. The boy's rides occurred without incident, but this mom, Shakira Parks, says she had a very different experience with her daughter and an allegedly harrowing journey.
I still blame myself, like, had I would have just left school and went to go get her myself, this wouldn't have happened.
Parks says an Uber driver picked up her 15-year-old daughter one evening earlier this year. She does not want to reveal her daughter's name or full face.
I received multiple comments saying that I was pretty.
Her daughter texted her during the ride as instructed.
The text said, "I'm in the Uber and I feel uncomfortable."
The man then put his hand on the lock and said, "No, you're coming with me."
She began crying. I'm crying. I said, "Get out the car." She said, "I can't." I said, "What you mean you can't?" She said, "His hand is on the lock button."
Finally, her daughter says she worked her way free.
He got frightened.
Everything comes to you.
His hand got off the lock and I kicked the door open and I was able to get out of the car.
The driver, Robert Beeman, was arrested on charges of kidnapping a minor. He pled not guilty. His attorney didn't respond our request for comment. Both Uber and Lyft state in their terms of service that users must be 18 to have an account. In response to the Parks case, Uber told GMA what's been described as extremely troubling, and upon learning of it, we immediately removed the driver's access to the app. We will continue to cooperate with law enforcement. Lyft told GMA safety is Lyft's top priority. Unaccompanied minors are not permitted on the platform. Those found in violation of this policy can be permanently banned from the Lyft service. For parents looking for transportation, some turn to regional services like Hop Skip Drive, a company started by moms, used only by kids. The company uses code words between driver and child, among other extra safety measures.
They are very rigorously background checked. They are fingerprinted. We do driving record checks. We meet every single driver in person.
What's the president's position on the CNN lawsuit?
Oh, he's made very clear. I think you could read the president's lawyer's briefs, the White House brief on what the position is. But as far as I could tell, CNN hasn't had any damages. They're still anti-Trump most of the day. So I see a number of CNN people here. They've got press passes. They're here. So I don't really have a comment on it. I haven't really thought much about it, to be honest with you. But you can't keep pace with just the poison, the drugs that are flowing into this country, and something's got to change.
Your takeaway from the midterm results is that Americans do support the president.
I have many takeaways from the midterm elections. I will tell you that elections aside, it is the role of the United States Congress under the Constitution to make the laws. They have failed to act on immigration. Republicans and Democrats have failed to act on immigration for any number of years. We basically have a couple of judges in this country making immigration policy for an entire nation. That's not responsible. So Congress needs to act. It has been 13 months since the President of the United States presented to Congress 70-point immigration reform plan. 70 points. Then he boiled it down to 4 points. DACA, Dreamers, which they pretended is what they cared about, and here we are a year later. Ending chain migration, ending the visa lottery system, and building the wall, getting more wall funding. I think the $1.6 billion is a good down payment, but it's nothing near what's needed to be able to have those enhancements at the border to make sure that we're a sovereign nation that is respected.
So the President Kirstjen Nielsen lost his confidence. Is he committed to replacing her with someone else?
At the border this week, and you've run stories all week. I really don't have time for this respectfully, but I bet if I saw how many stories you ran about personnel this week instead of policy, about palace intrigue instead of principles, it would be, I think, a little bit embarrassing to see how many stories. I'm about to walk in and have a meeting with General Kelly, a meeting that he leads. My last meeting last night was with the President, General Kelly. Here he is as the Chief of Staff. There she is as the Secretary of Homeland Security. I assume one day you'll be right. One day the President, 6 years from now, he'll leave, and so will members of his senior team. He said he's going to decide soon. But why aren't you asking questions about the chief? Because you got burnt for the 88th time about him leaving? This week, this day, this hour, this minute?
As he said originally.
Yes, why are you doubting him? Are you staying at CNN? Will you be fired? I mean, it's such a ridiculous question when you think about it. That we're going to, but I know it's easier than learning the ins and outs of policy. It just is.
Is the president frustrated about
for everybody?
Questions?
This morning, the women behind that bombshell $70 million lawsuit filed against Dartmouth College are speaking out.
It was certainly a boys' club environment, so it was a highly sexualized culture.
The complaint alleges that for more than a decade, the Ivy League university ignored widespread sexual harassment by tenured professors Todd Heatherton, William Kelly, and Paul Whalen. It describes the men as forming a private predators club, with the women alleging that at times the professors groped students, conducted meetings at bars, and invited students to hot tub parties. And in March of 2015, the complaint states that William Kelly sexually assaulted Christina Rapuano.
I don't even remember waking up the next morning. And it was after that point that Bill Kelly had told me that we had sex.
The lawsuit claims this misconduct dates back to 2002. All 7 of the plaintiffs are considered highly accomplished scientists, current and former students of Dartmouth's Psychology and Brain Sciences Department, which the complaint compares to a 21st century animal house, a culture the women say the college was slow to address.
The action that they took was too late and too little.
In the fall, Dartmouth conducted an investigation and subsequently gave all 3 professors the option to resign or retire. In response to the lawsuit, Dartmouth told ABC News, as a result of the misconduct we found earlier this year by the 3 PBS faculty members, we took unprecedented steps toward revoking their tenure and terminating their employment.
It was the harrowing scene worthy of a double take.
There is a woman on an inflatable swan, her and a child, and they have drifted really, really far out into the water.
A mother and son stuck 2 miles into the Gulf of Mexico on, of all things, an inflatable swan. Tara Myers says the waters appeared calm when she and her son Brendan got on the inflatable, but she soon realized they had drifted into a rip current.
It was almost immediate that I realized that we were going out much quicker and much deeper than I had thought.
I started to freak out, like maybe we'll never make it back, we're goners.
Luckily, fellow beachgoers saw they were in trouble and called 911.
Let's put it this way, the dolphins are closer to the shore than they are.
About a half hour later, a rescue team finally reached them.
Had tears of joy. They had no injuries, and we got them onto the boat without any problems.
Now Tara says she and her son learned a valuable lesson and are incredibly grateful.
We'll never be able to repay those people for that. I don't know what would have happened if they didn't come.
Overnight, Michael Avenatti firing back after being arrested Wednesday afternoon on felony domestic violence charges.
I have never struck a woman. I never will strike a woman.
The LAPD confirming his arrest, tweeting, "This is an ongoing investigation and we will provide more details as they become available." Avenatti was released on $50,000 bond Wednesday night. The alleged victim is unidentified, but police say the alleged incident occurred on Tuesday. Avenatti then arrested on Wednesday. Best known for representing Stormy Daniels and his scathing criticism of President Trump, Avenatti is out to clear his name, saying he will continue to be an advocate for women's rights.
I am a father to 2 beautiful, smart daughters. I would never disrespect them by touching a woman inappropriately or striking a woman. I am looking forward to a full investigation, at which point I am confident that I will be fully exonerated.
Avenatti's first wife and mother of his 2 daughters releasing this statement overnight. "I've known Michael for the last 26 years. We met when he was 21 years old and we were married for 13 years. He has never been abusive to me or anyone else. He is a very good man."
The story sounded almost too good to be true. Johnny Bobbitt, a homeless man, gave Kate McClure, a total stranger, his last $20 for gas after she became stranded on an interstate in Philadelphia. McClure and her boyfriend Mark D'Amico said they went public about what happened because they wanted to help Bobbitt.
We were thinking, what if we started a GoFundMe for this guy, just to get him, to get him off of the streets, even for a weekend.
The fund quickly grew to more than $400,000, with donations from more than 14,000 people.
It's like winning the lottery.
But the happy story began to crack when Bobbitt accused the couple of stealing his money, using it to fund lavish trips to Vegas, the Grand Canyon, and New York City. Local law enforcement zeroed in on the couple in recent months, raiding their home, towing away their car. An arrest seemed imminent. But this morning, a bombshell. According to a new report, authorities believe the entire tale was a ruse conceived by all. The story sounded almost too good to be true. Johnny Bobbitt, a homeless man, gave Kate McClure, a total stranger, his last $20 for gas after she became stranded on an interstate in Philadelphia. McClure and her boyfriend Mark D'Amico said they went public about what happened because they wanted to help Bobbitt.
We were thinking, what if we started a GoFundMe for this guy, just to get him, to get him off of the streets, even for a weekend.
The fund quickly grew to more than $400,000, with donations from more than 14,000 people.
It's like winning the lottery.
But the happy story began to crack when Bobbitt accused the couple of stealing his money, using it to fund lavish trips to Vegas, the Grand Canyon, and New York City. Local law enforcement zeroed in on the couple in recent months, raiding their home, towing away their car. An arrest seemed imminent. But this morning, a bombshell. According to a new report, authorities believe the entire tale was a ruse, conceived by all three of them in a get-rich-quick scheme. According to an NBC affiliate, McClure and D'Amico have turned themselves in, but Bobbitt is still at large. The three are expected to be charged with conspiracy and theft by deception for working together to concoct the story. D'Amico and McClure always denied spending Bobbitt's money themselves, saying they were managing the money for him because of his...
Authorities tonight are investigating a mysterious death at Ohio University after Colin Wyant, an 18-year-old freshman, was found unresponsive in this off-campus apartment on Monday. The university confirming that residence was an unofficial annex of the fraternity Sigma Pi, where Wyant recently pledged. In response, the university ordered the fraternity to cease and desist all activities and turn over all records after receiving information the fraternity has engaged in that puts the health and safety of your members at risk. Avenatti tells ABC News they don't suspect foul play at this point. The National Sigma Pi fraternity says they're advising members to cooperate fully with the investigation.
Impressively lifelike or just plain creepy. It's certainly hyper-realistic, enough to catch the eye of facial recognition tech developers. Impressively lifelike or just plain creepy. It's certainly hyper-realistic, enough to catch the eye of facial recognition tech developers. Osamu Kitagawa's company create the mask, which wouldn't look out of place in a sci-fi movie, by transferring high-quality photographs onto 3D prototypes. The rest of the process is secret. And they're certainly in demand, from filmmakers to organizations in Saudi Arabia. One Japanese automobile company used a mask showing someone asleep to improve their vehicle's ability to detect when a driver dozes off at the wheel. But that's not the only ambition for these lifelike masks.
I'd like them to be used for medical purposes, which will be possible once they can be made using soft materials. And as humanoid robots are being developed, I hope this will help developers to create more realistic robots and at a low cost.
Those are potential positives, but there are also potential problems. In the wrong hands, or rather on the wrong face, Kitagawa's face mask could pose a very realistic security risk.
Delay, deny, deflect. That's how the New York Times says Facebook handled scrutiny over data misuse and Russian election meddling. In a searing new report released Wednesday, the New York Times alleges Facebook went to great lengths to deflect blame and mask the extent of the problem of allowing a political data firm linked to President Trump's campaign to access the personal data of tens of millions of people. And when that didn't work and the price of Facebook shares dropped, the New York Times reports the company, quote, went on attack, hiring a Republican opposition firm to discredit critics and even spread negative stories about competitors like Apple and Google. Facebook has since cut ties with that firm. The expose also claims Facebook lobbied politicians on both sides of the aisle and repeatedly downplayed Russian activity and hacking on the platform leading up to the 2016 election. On a phone call with reporters Thursday, CEO Mark Zuckerberg defended Facebook.
Suggests that we weren't interested in knowing the truth, or that we wanted to hide what we knew, or that we tried to prevent investigations is simply untrue.
The social media giant put out a statement Thursday saying the New York Times report contained inaccuracies and, quote, while we still have a long way to go, we're proud of the progress we have made in fighting misinformation, removing bad content, and preventing foreign actors from manipulating our platform.
A royal treasure trove which belonged to the French Queen Marie Antoinette has fetched a record-breaking sum at auction.
Extraordinary natural pearl.
Collectors snapped up the rare historic gems as bidding soared to a total of over $50 million at Sotheby's in Geneva on Wednesday. That's 10 times initial estimates and the highest amount ever for a royal collection. Most of the items that had belonged to the ill-fated monarch have not been seen in public for over 200 years. Marie Antoinette, who married the future King Louis XVI, secretly sent the jewels abroad in a wooden chest to her sister as she planned to escape from Paris. But the royal couple was arrested in 1792 when the French Revolution overthrew the monarchy and were executed by the British the following year. The top lot, this pearl and oval diamond pendant with a bow motif and diamond clasp.
32 million francs on my right with Andres. World record for a pearl. 32 million francs. Selling it.
But only after 10 minutes of seesaw bidding. The new owner, victorious on the other end of the phone, chose to remain anonymous. Sotheby's called the auction the sale of the century.
That's a fat one. You see that? Awesome.
Отложили как личинку.